Do I start?
Yes, you always start. It's your job.
Hey guys, this is Laurie.
I'm Elle.
And this is the Cynical Therapist. And so we're going to talk a little bit about narcissism.
Yay, which is my favorite.
Probably about 15 minutes. Let's define it first.
Narcissism. Well, it's from the Greek mythology of Narcissus and Echo. And Narcissus was this... I don't know if he was a demigod or if he was a mini god, but he was obsessed with his own reflection, and he would go to the water every day, and he fell in love with his reflection, so much so that he fell into the water and drowned. And then a flower was born, or was grown there, and it's called the narcissus, and that's where the narcissist term comes from. But that's a really sweet way of describing a very not so sweet personality.
Sure.
A complex personality trait. Narcissism is overly used. People like to think
it is overly used
because you're self-obsessed, or you take too many selfies, or you're a narcissist, and that's not true.
Yeah.
It's a combination of a bunch of different traits, and you can have a lot of narcissistic traits and not be a narcissist.
Yes.
The way it's defined in relationships is usually an abusive partner that kind of has a very skewed sense of their own identity and kind of gloms onto your identity to suck some ego strength out of you.
Yeah, always looking for ego strength. I think I wanted to read you guys this. It's by Tigress Love. So it's the last name spelled L-U-V, or if that's just a name. But it says, a narcissist can't be faithful. This is because to a narcissist, you don't exist except as a mirror. When he looks at you, all he sees is his own reflection. Distort his reflection and he will go and find another mirror. It's as simple or as complicated as that.
Wow, I love that.
I love that. And the reason it says it's as simple or complicated is because I think, because we do get asked a lot, is this person a narcissist? Am I dating a narcissist? And it says
yes, you are. I'm just kidding.
It says he, but it can be he or she.
She, yeah.
But it's important too that, and we're pretty careful about using terms anyways, but I don't think, you hear people all the time be like, that person's bipolar or that person's narcissist. And I think the words are used incorrectly. So I think it's really important that,
liberally, like it's kind of like slapped on with a spatula instead of a butter knife. It's it's not that. Yes, somebody's a jerk. And maybe they're self-obsessed, and maybe they're the mayor of their own land, where they talk about themselves in the third person or whatever, whatever trigger you have. But that doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. A narcissist, it's kind of rare. It's like maybe 2% of the population or something. I mean, I would love to have an exact quote, but then I'd be looking at my phone. But it's pretty rare. But
like me,
what's not rare is narcissistic traits. Yeah. What's not rare is having interaction with somebody where you leave and you're so confused. You think you're kind of crazy. You're like, maybe, and as a woman, having a conversation with a man where you're leaving going, wait, I went in there with the sole purpose of this conversation, and I left with more tasks and didn't even get to the point of the conversation, and I'm confused, and now I feel weird, and I feel kind of undermined, and I feel like you've described as being smacked in the face and then having somebody help you up, and then push you down and help you up, and push you down and help you up, and so you're like thanking them, but they're the one who pushed you down.
Yes.
Thanks for helping me up. It's like, no. And these are all metaphors, of course. If somebody really pushes you down, get away from that person.
Even if they help you up after, and that's the confusing part about it, right? It's like, well, they pushed me down, but
they felt instantly terrible. And you could tell on his face that he didn't want to push me. But I was like, push me. And so he had to push me. So it was kind of my fault. Yeah. But when you walk away from a conversation taking responsibility for somebody's attack, whether it's physical or emotional or financial or... I mean, who knows what other ways people push, but...
And I think narcissism's on a spectrum with what they're not calling... What are they calling it now? Like sociopathy, or they used to call it like a psychopath.
Psychopath, that's overused too.
And so obviously, like, who's some famous narcissist? Like, was Ted Bundy a narcissist?
He's more of a psychopath.
So that's why, like, the spectrum that exists... I mean, I think that to harm other people, and that's kind of what it's saying, that a narcissist can be somebody who's an abuser.
You know who I think of, and this is more of a caricature, is, and I love this band, but Gene Simmons from Kiss.
Is that the guy with the tongue?
Well, one of them, right? He's the lead singer of Kiss.
Okay.
He had a reality show for a while, and he's had a live-in girlfriend who's a Playboy bunny for 1,000,000 years. They've had like kids together, but he won't marry her because of his own kind of hang-ups about marriage. I think maybe they have since married or broken up or something like that. This was years ago. But the way I feel about Gene Simmons was he was using people as appendages, and when somebody kind of loses their usefulness, they are discarded. And that's a big piece of the narcissistic kind of interaction. Is it's really exciting when you first come in contact. It's intoxicating when you meet a true narcissist because he's charming, or they're charming, they're curious, they're funny, they have lots of people in their life, or they paint themselves to be very important, they're very special. People don't recognize how special they are. And so you're the first person to recognize how special they are. And so therefore this is a really intense relationship. And for those of you who don't know about trauma bonding, it's a way to create kind of bonding with somebody, but it's not necessarily through the hugs and kisses. It's through the excitement of the push-pull of a narcissistic relationship. Like that thing where it's like, you don't recognize how special I am, and then you see me at a show and I'm this incredible musician, and then all these people are adoring me, and then I come back into, the room and I'm like, you were so great, you were so amazing, you're so amazing, everybody loves you so much. And then you're like, oh yeah, this person really loves me, and they see the value in how incredible I am, that I can see how special they are. And then you have the spotlight, and then all of a sudden it shuts down.
And that's
because
the
you said
scary
something wrong.
part, is they see the value in how much I'm adoring them. And that's that mirror piece.
The mirror is, I finally see somebody who feels the same about me. And as soon as that adoration, that worship wavers, then you are the mortal enemy. Like if you're not my cheerleader and you're not, giving me drinks on the sidelines when I'm running a marathon, then you are my mortal enemy and must be destroyed. And that's that black and white thing.
That I idealize and devalue. I will devalue you when you no longer serve my purpose, right? When this mirror doesn't let me see what I want to see.
The glory of me.
I will go find another mirror.
Right? Because there's so many people who love you because nobody really understands how special you are. Right? And you're just another person who doesn't understand how special I am. So next, I'm going to get rid of you, and then I'm going to tell the next person how disgusting you were. Right? So therefore, that person understands that you didn't realize how special I was, and then it's that repeat. Right? And then I kind of collect all these people who are confused about me, and I'll reach out every once in a while if this person's not giving me what I want, and stick my straw in your neck and suck you dry. So usually when you're interacting with a narcissist, you leave feeling confused and drained and a little bit crazy.
Yes.
And that's the gaslighting piece. Do you remember? I mean, how would you describe gaslighting, knowing what you know now?
So gaslighting is the idea, and I don't know where it came from, where when the heat was turned down in the house, so it was like the wife and the husband, and this is just the example, where the wife would be like, it's getting cold in here, and the husband was by like a half a degree every day turning down the heat. And so because it was so subtle and it was just a half a degree every day, she kept saying, it's getting cold in here, it's getting cold in here. And he's like, no, it's not cold in here, but then it, at the end it was whatever, 15, 20 degrees colder, but because it was so subtle and because it was just happening, and because he was reminding her that she doesn't know what she's talking about. That she's crazy. That's where the confusion is. That's where it
muddies your reality.
Yeah.
It's the drop of ink in the water, right? You can't really tell if there's a drop of ink, but maybe the water is a different color, but you can't really tell. And then there's somebody saying to you, the water is not a different color. You're just really tired. Oh my gosh, you've had so much stress this week. Oh, gosh, maybe you should go lie down. I don't know. Maybe your brain's not working so well. Maybe all the meds you're taking are bad for you. Maybe, so it's that thing where you kind of shave off somebody's reality, and they're standing there naked and cold in a room going, I'm naked and cold. And that person's like, and you're also pathetic, and you're also pitiful, and you're also crazy, And so usually people leave a relationship kind of losing a big chunk of their identity.
Yes.
And so that's why it's hard to leave a narcissistic relationship, because somebody is really holding on to that piece of you, like the piece of you that either is your self-esteem or how you kind of interpreted your own abilities before. Because most narcissists aren't going to scoop up a sad and lonely, afraid, pointless person. They're going to scoop up that powerful, the person who's like, I've got my life together.
Has that ego strength for them to take.
To parasitically suck away all of their life, and kind of take over those pieces and isolate them from the people who remind them of who they are. And it's scary and sad.
And that's I think when we were talking about, it's a small percentage of the population, but there is a lot of abuse that's maybe even more silent, where they are taking you away from your friends and making you feel like you're doing things wrong. And so I think that's a really important piece.
Or making you quit your job because your job makes them uncomfortable. And that's a scary piece, because then it takes away your financial freedom. And as soon as your financial freedom is taken away, all of your freedom is taken away, because then you have to ask for permission. And when you have to ask for permission, the narcissist is like, ooh, I've got complete clutches. And I don't think it's necessarily like purposeful. I think it's pathological. I think it's generational. I think that a narcissist will have a narcissistic child if they're not careful. And I think it's nurture and nurture. It's not necessarily one or the other. And there's actually new information saying that personality disorders might be genetic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was my new CEU thing that I learned about. I was like, so hopefully, as therapists, we'll be able to actually get those gene tests.
Sure.
But what would you do if you had a gene test and your genes came back positive for narcissism? Tear that shit up. I'd be like,
I would
this is bunk science.
I would go get a different mirror. This can't be true.
Go and find the lab and then beat that person to death.
Some things are just better not knowing. I'm like, no.
How sad would that be? That would be so sad.
Well, apparently if I was a narcissist, it wouldn't be sad at all.
It would be like, I'm going to rewrite this test. Nobody even knows how to do this test right. It was with my saliva, and I didn't even spit, and I ate crackers before, so maybe it was the crackers that had the narcissism.
It's you, not me.
True narcissism right there.
But don't go around ask us questions if you want to. Don't go around calling people narcissists.
Do it. See what happens. What is that book? Ways to Influence People, Making Friends and Influencing People. Just point fingers and call people stuff. See how that works, and then come back with some field test. Don't do that. Really don't do that. But
if you do feel like you're with somebody who's taking that ego strength away from you, gaslighting you, making you feel less than, I think it's important to talk to a therapist and kind of navigate that in that personal way. I don't think that messaging is my significant other a narcissist asking that. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's exploring all the relational
it's hard
ins and
in therapy
outs.
Too.
Yeah.
If you have a narcissistic partner and you go to couples therapy, odds are if you don't have a talented clinician, you're going to walk away feeling more confused and more isolated, because most narcissists are incredibly intelligent, incredibly charming, and kind of fool a clinician into thinking you are kind of crazy and you are being a little bit much, So if you are in an abusive relationship, whether it be financial control, physical violence, or anything like that, go to individual therapy, of course, if it's allowed. Also, I would really encourage you to start exploring what that means. And in domestic violence training, we always talk about the exit plan. That primary example, if you're in an abusive relationship, start working on an exit plan with a clinician or with some support. There's so much support out there.
Yes, with a licensed clinician. Heavy topic on narcissism, but
not heavy at all.
It's interesting because people ask about it a lot. Like, how do
I interact with a narcissist where I don't walk away feeling crazy? And the best tip I could give all of you guys, if you have a narcissistic boss, which a lot of us have had, that one boss that kind of heaps things onto you and then takes credit for things that you've accomplished and kind of steals your ideas, or makes you feel obligated to work longer hours with less pay or whatever it is, and you kind of feel controlled. I call it the abusive relationship of treatment, because I've worked in a lot of places where you feel like this intense pressure. Nobody's ever sat you down and said, you're going to get fired if you don't do this and this, but there's kind of this culture.
Subtle. Sure.
if you do feel that way, the best way to reduce the narcissist kind of power over you is establishing your own identity and having great functioning boundaries. Even though it's scary to say to your boss, no, I don't work Saturdays, and upon, hiring, I've agreed to work Monday through Friday. Even though it's like, well, every other Saturday you're going to be on call, because I've had that where I'm like, I'm what now? Like, excuse me, I'm on call? Like, oh, okay. That doesn't sound like anything I would ever agree to. But to have somebody, because I don't answer my phone, you know that. Somebody to be able to say to somebody, hey, wow, yeah, that's kind of coming out of left field, or hey, okay, well, let me get back to you. And then just kind of set your boundaries, having that firm boundary. I work Monday through Friday, and not having to backpedal and be like, I'm a really great employee, and I'm going to work on my resume when nobody's looking. But don't buy into that frantic, like feelings are not facts. And you don't, even though you have all of these feelings and you're feeling really activated or flooded, you don't have to do anything. And that's a big piece of it. Telling my clients, like, wow, these are a lot of things. It may feel like you have to do something. You don't have to do anything.
Like, don't be afraid to pause. Don't be afraid to pause. Don't be afraid to get somebody else's opinion on it.
Right.
All that.
And if you're in a job where you feel like you're going to get fired because you have boundaries, babe.
That's,
yeah. Maybe it's time to circle back and reevaluate. And I always tell my clients, the best way to find a job is to have a job. So start looking if you feel controlled or rejected. And I know it's easy for me to say that, but taking care of your own path and taking care of how you feel at work is really, really important, because I mean, now burnout's an actually diagnosable condition. That's a new thing. And burnout is like so correlated with having a narcissistic boss. You can't be under a narcissist's thumb and not feel overwhelmed and activated and kind of crazy. If you're losing a lot of weight, if you're losing chunks of hair in the shower, if your skin is breaking out and this is not normal for you, if every day you wake up and you're like, well, I had a job where I'd see like a car accident on the side of the freeway and I'd be jealous that I wasn't in the car accident. Like, that's a really good red flag that you are in a relationship with your job that's abusive. And usually at the core of the relationship abuse, there's somebody who's behaving in a narcissistic way. And sometimes women bosses are even worse. That's what I've experienced anyways, because then it's like that, wait, are we friends? Or are we enemies? Are we locking horns on the mountaintop? Like, what is this? I don't understand. And this is very different to be a woman in a woman's world, because therapy is kind of a woman's world.
Yeah. And I think that idea of a relationship doesn't have to just be a romantic relationship. You can be in a relationship with somebody you're working with somebody. So that's really important to remember that.
Good point.
That, especially when it is somebody you're working with, you are working so much that can influence a lot. So I think just getting in and talking to somebody, if you feel like it is a relationship that you're losing a sense of yourself in, or something like that is going on.
Yeah, totally. That's a good point. If you feel safe enough.
Yeah. I feel like this is a topic that'll come up again.
And again, and again, and again.
and again, and again, and again.
Yes.
But isn't that the way they want it?
Yeah, the narcissist, right? But I think the way a woman becomes more empowered is almost behaving like a male narcissist in corporate world. And I hope that agenda is slowly like dissolving. So it's like that. Women just need to work harder. And it's like, no, we don't. Or women need to behave more like men. No, we don't. We can just kind of own what we're good at and be a really great presence and temper a lot of things by being calm and kind of removed and not playing into the gaslighting and not playing into the abusive ridiculousess of the corporate world. Because, I mean, gross.
Clearly she loves that world.
I can't. Well, I don't play well with mind games at all, And you know me, I'm super like, what did you just say to me? Like, no, nobody talks to me that way anymore. And that has been a reaction to kind of being, under somebody's thumb for so long.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to be free. I have to pull up my wings or whatever.
Here they come.
Right.
So if you guys are, or you feel like you're in an abusive relationship, as we always say, whether it's silent abuse, right, financial abuse, anything like that, to call a therapist or to reach out to somebody and, you know, start talking to somebody and get help.
Yeah, totally. And hit us up if you need some help on that one. We have at our disposal a really great pool of kick-ass chicks that can help you and steer you in a place where you'll feel safe. But the best way to do it, if you can, search without getting in trouble for searching. Search some sort of counseling for domestic abuse. You could search trauma bonding. You could search Stockholm syndrome. You could search a lot of different things to kind of help you understand why you behave the way you do, because it is crazy making, especially when it's just not, you know, most abused women understand they're being abused.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, the stats are it takes 8 times before a woman leaves an abusive relationship. So the hope is that 7, maybe yours is 7, maybe 6, and then having a really great friend group around you and having a plan for when you finally get to leave, when you finally have the strength.
Sure.
And when you have kids, it's so different and so much more complicated. So my heart breaks, you know, for women that feel like they're trapped. And if you feel trapped, no matter how trapped you feel, somebody can listen and somebody can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So that was just our I guess quick video on narcissism. And we hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.